Hello and welcome back to Mrs. Torres' YouTube channel. Today we are going to be talking about the foundations of geometry. So there's a few definitions that we need to know before we can really get into geometry. The first one is a point. A point has no dimension and it's represented by a dot. So we could have a dot and then we label them with letters. So this would be point A. And sometimes we'll be given the coordinates. So let's say this has coordinates 0, 2. Sometimes the coordinates will be important, like when we're finding midpoint or distance, and sometimes we'll just need the point. The second definition here is line. Lines have one dimension. They are infinite, which means there's no end. They go on forever. And you need 2 points to identify a line. So if I draw a line here, A and B, to represent it being infinite or having no end, we're going to put arrows on either side. We could name this line AB or line BA. So this symbol indicates line. Sometimes you might also see a italics or cursive lowercase letter here. We could also call this line L. Most of the time you'll see these. Sometimes you will see that cursive letter there. The next definition is ray. A ray has one endpoint, and then it goes on forever in one direction. So a ray would look something like this. And we would call that ray, there's our ray symbol, CD. Now, with the line, we could go in either direction, right? We could go A, B, or BA. When it comes to rays, you have to start with the endpoint and then say the other letter. So we couldn't say ray DC because that would indicate that it starts at D and goes on forever in C's direction, which that's not what the picture shows. So ray CD. And then segment has 2 endpoints. So that would look something like this. So we could call that segment EF or segment FE. Just like a line, segments you can switch the letters, the order of the letters. Next definition we have is plane. Plane is 2 dimensions. It looks like a wall. So it's a flat surface. And you need 3 points to identify a plane. And these are also infinite. So the way that we draw a plane is like this. This is a parallelogram or kind of like a slanted rectangle, right? We need 3 letters, so we could say X, Y, and Z. So this would be plane X, Y, Z. The order does not matter, so we could say ZYX, XZY, as long as you are identifying 3 points in that plane. And you might also see planes with a little letter in the corner there. So we could also call this plane M. Now notice, M is not a point on the plane. It doesn't have a dot like the other letters. It's just in the corner kind of all alone. That's just a way to name the plane, kind of like the letter out here. This isn't a point, it's just a way to name that line. All right, the next 3 definitions are using, point, line, and plane, and it's kind of how they're related. So they all have this prefix co. That means together. So collinear points are points on the same line. Linear means line, like in Algebra 1 when you did linear equations. Next, you have coplanar points. These are points on the same plane. And lastly, coplanar lines. You guessed it, lines on the same plane. All right, once you have all those definitions, go ahead and flip over to the next page. We want to talk a little bit about intersections and then kind of put these definitions into action here. So the first, we have the intersection of two lines is a what? Is it a point, is it a line, or a plane? If we kind of think of these two pens as two lines, where they intersect is just right here, right? Directly where the two pens are. That is going to be a point, and we would call that the point of intersection. Very original, I know. Next, we have the intersection of two planes. So, you can think about this as the wall hitting the floor in a room. It doesn't hit it just at one point, right? It hits it all along here. So that would be a line. So the intersection of two lines is a point. The intersection of two planes is a line. All right, let's try this example. Pause the video now and try this example. When you come back, we'll go over it. All right, welcome back. We are going to look at this rectangular prism over here and try to answer these questions. For the first three, we're going to name a point that is coplanar with the given points. So number one, our given points are A, B, and C. So we're kind of talking about this plane on top of our rectangular prism. Well, the other point on there is point D. Number two, we have E, F, and H. E, F, and H. These are all on this plane down here, kind of the bottom of the rectangular prism, kind of the one that's sitting on. So the other point there is G. Number three, C, D, and G. So that's this right plane here. The other point on that is H, because this is the plane that we're looking at. The next two questions, we want to name a point that is collinear with the given points. So now collinear means on the same line. So first we're looking at F. So F, we've actually got three options. F, B are on the same line. Or we could say F, G are on the same line. Or F, E. I'm going to switch to a different color. Next, we're going to look at H. So H is over here. We could say G is on the same line. We could say D is on the same line. Or we could say E is on the same line. So a little bit of overlap there. All right, that is it for your first lesson in Chapter 1.